Yeshua, your King of praise. Shalom, everyone. This is Messianic Rabbi Buzz Tremé, the Jew teaching you. Welcome to our Bible study. Yeshua, you are the way. Yeshua. All right, so Israel receives the covenant from God, and it puts them under something that is not based on faith, according to Galatians 3. It's not based on faith. So what was the purpose? Paul says the purpose was for it to hold the people until everything got right for them to be mature and step into faith. To step into faith was to step into covenant with Yeshua and act like mature adults. No longer kids needing a babysitter. So here's what I want to say to you. As we study and as more and more information about the Jewish elements of the Bible, the Jewish roots, as we study and more of it comes forth to the church and to humanity, there will always be the fascination with the ritual. It's good to be fascinated by it. I mean, when you see the feasts, the 7 feasts, and how they reflect the salvation plan of first Israel and then the world, you can't help but be just blown away. So Paul said, don't speak evil of the law. The law is good if it's used properly. So we have to use it properly. So when I teach about the Shabbat or the circumcision or sacrifices, whatever, I'm never saying to you, you must do these things if you're going to be a true Christian, because they are eternal commandments. Don't go there. Don't fall for that, because this is what happens. People are fascinated with the shofar. People are fascinated with all that we're about. The Messianic movement is making people aware of their Jewish roots and the overall plan of God to save them as well as Israel. So you're fascinated. It's good to be fascinated by these things. God is trying to get people fascinated. He wants people watching YouTube and seeing me sounding the shofar. He wants to hear the words, Messianic Rabbi Buzz Tremé, the Jew teaching you. And they go, he doesn't look like the rabbis we envision. He doesn't even have on the kippah. He's not. Where are his side locks and his black hat? You know, well, that's an image of a rabbi. But I do have that little part in front of it that says Messianic. It means I recognize Yeshua as my Messiah. And my personal calling is to Gentiles to make known these things to the Gentiles so the Gentiles can aid Israel in their salvation. So naturally, God says, I don't want you looking like the traditional person. Isn't that good? Because, boy, I'm just really not very traditional. Now, but he wants to do it because it stirs the thoughts of people around the world. Anybody remember Zola Levit? Zola Levit was a teacher, started in the 70s from the Jesus movement, an American Jew who was born again, ended up living in Israel and teaching all kinds of things and had made 1 million videos. He sprinkled the seed out there and watered the seed. He taught about the bride and the marriage ceremony and the Jewish pattern and how it's being fulfilled in the New Testament. All of these things came about. Everybody didn't care about Zola Levit, but it was going out there, and a certain part of churchianity was getting sprinkled with it. Did anybody remember back in years past somebody wearing a talit? A prayer shawl? Okay, I'm just not hitting on much here with my audience today. You guys need to learn to stretch the truth and go, yeah, we remember. No. But every now We didn't have that in the Methodist church. I bet you didn't. God bless John Wesley. My point is that these things were around. My first Passover that I actually participated in was in 1983, maybe. Because I was raised as a Gentile. We didn't do that. I was Christian. Christians don't do all that stuff. And then suddenly somebody came along that was Jewish and knew it, and was started having a shofar and writing songs about the, Messianic songs and everything. And I remember giving them a hard time because it was like way too much Jewish flavor. We're Christian. We've replaced Israel. That's what I was told. And was I wrong? And it was God who was pushing this thing in. So then the shofar and the talit, the prayer shawl and so on, you start seeing it. Well, at first, naturally, to Christian Gentiles, it's like, well, that's weird. It shouldn't be weird. It's our inheritance. They all symbolize something. They mean something. Anyway, today it's a lot more common. Passovers are being done every year, aren't they? And more. We keep saying we're going to do a public one again, now that we're no longer, the quarantine just disrupted a lot of stuff. But anyway, moving right along, this is a move of God, and we want to handle our part in it wisely. So first comes fascination with these things. Then comes participation. You start attending a Bible study that's conducted by a Messianic rabbi. And he's talking about Jewish stuff. And you're going, my background is void of that. But it is very interesting, and I see that it's biblical. Okay? And so you're starting to participate. Isn't that good? And then, if you're not careful, though, you become captivated. Now, I always am careful with this because I don't want anybody to go, well, I got to stay away. That's dangerous stuff, Guns are dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But if you're cautious, they're very helpful, aren't they? Captivation is when some people don't have a good foundation in Christianity. And very often, no, I'm not even going to go there. Sorry, retract that, Buzz. Okay. But people have a tendency to be fascinated with something, and the next thing you know, they lock into it. I'm that kind of guy about a lot of things. When I get into something, I get into something. I get into it. You've heard that before. Well, and I got into the Jewish thing by his own. When he appears to you and tells you what he wants from you, you will try to move heaven and earth to do that. And keep saying, how am I doing? And every now and then he'll give you an attaboy or no boy this way. Okay, but captivation, it can captivate you. And I know people who have allowed the law of Moses to become a captor to them. They are captive to it. They can't, the men can't go out without their little covering on. They can't pray without the covering of the talit on. Shabbat, oh my God, they can get all upset with their family members and have a big argument because we messed around and didn't have the right food and the right candles for Shabbat. Or it's already dark and we didn't start yet. Oh my God, Christians get into that. Now the Jews, not all Jews, but the Orthodox Jews are into that. They're so afraid that they're going to do work on the Shabbat, which you're not allowed to do work on the Shabbat. God wants people to understand it's a time where you'll rest from your labor, and Yeshua is Lord of the Sabbath, of the Shabbat. But they don't understand that, and so even in Israel, they'll have electric switches that turn on and off the lights that kick in, timers, that turn your lights, your electricity on and off while Shabbat's happening, so you don't do it and get accused of doing work. Some go as far as no teeth brushing Shabbat because that's work. Now, you think God that's what His intentions were? One thing about the Spirit of God that you have received, if you love Yeshua, you've received Him, some fashion or form. But the neat thing is, He gives us soundness, gives us common sense, the sound mind. Meaning, you don't, well, I don't have to teach anybody what sound mind is. We should have it, huh? And so is God about you running over somebody in traffic because you're trying to get home for the Shabbat to start? Oh man, I should have never stopped off, but my wife forgot to get this, so I got to have it for the Shabbat meal. And you're running and you hurt somebody, If you have the Spirit, you're supposed to be full of joy and life and expectancy, always looking for others to help others and encourage others. There's no restrictions on that. Well, if you get under a law, you can put yourself under law. And churches have rules. America, the church was founded on law that was based on Christian principle. So people of the land were required to do basically were required to love their neighbors themselves. That's what the law was all about. But it was a law. And if you're doing good only because you're required to do good, it has no value with God. But if it's coming from your heart and you're doing good because I want to please God, then it is of value. Then you're living by faith, right? Law is for lawbreakers, Paul told Timothy, not for the righteous, not for the faithful. Law is for those who live to break laws. You're the king.